Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Ethan's Astrology Podcast. My name is Ethan, and I'm going to be taking you through the essential dignities today. However, focusing on what we call essential debilities. Now, dignities, I did an episode on before, which you can watch here on this channel, and the dignities describe signs of the zodiac where planets are able to have their fullest expression. So the sun, for example, has dignity in Leo as well as Aries. These are two signs where the sun can really shine, which is what the sun wants to do, right? When we move over to debilities, we look at the signs where planets don't have as good a time in. It doesn't mean that they can't be productive here. It doesn't mean that they can't be wonderful and fabulous and amazing here. If anything, I actually think having planets in debility give people extra strength, extra wisdom, extra charisma. But the journey there is harder than when a planet is in its dignity. Okay? So this isn't necessarily a bad thing though, because if we think about it, would you rather be around a person who gets their way all the time, who life is just perfect for, who never seems to have any issues? Or are you going to want to be around the person who's struggled a bit, who's had some conflict, who's, really had to fight to create their lives? I think we'd all more rather gravitate to the person who's a bit more flawed. And so debilities really present flaws, and flaws are really, as a society, something we've deemed, unacceptable, or oh, that's not the way you should be doing it, or we call it a debility, right? In my opinion, the essential debilities aren't debilities, they're secret superpowers. It's just in our culture, in our Western culture, which this version of astrology comes from, we're told that these expressions of these planets, of these archetypes, isn't preferred. And I think that's a really important idea to pay attention to when we're looking at these ancient concepts in astrology, is why do certain planets or dignities get looked at as bad or negative, and why do some are looked at as good? They are such a reflection of the cultural system that produced the version of astrology we have today, which comes from, yes, Rome, the West, but also Egypt and Greece and the Near East. So obviously, astrology does not universally sum up all those places, but I just think it's always interesting to talk about, wow, this system has a culture around it. What is that culture representing back to us through this system, and how is that carried on by the culture we're in today? So if you have any planets in debility, don't run for the hills. Don't be afraid. We're going to talk about how you can lean into them while giving grace to the challenges that they bring, okay? So let's start with the sun, okay? The sun is our ego, it's our identity, it's our expression. There are two types of debility we're going to talk about today: detriment and fall. So detriment is when a planet is somewhere it doesn't really know. It's like a place it's just sort of getting by. Fall is when it's in a place that it like really doesn't like. Like it just does not want to be there. It's not like being in prison, but we can use that archetype as an extreme. Like it's like being in prison or like on a foreign island, or you know what I mean? Like something that's just misty, foggy. You don't know about it. It's a little creepy. You don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. It just doesn't feel right. Detriment is, once again, just somewhere that maybe we struggle to know, but it's not necessarily like we can't stand being there. Fall is really more where we can't stand being there. But of course, we're talking in terms of extremes, so just keep that in mind. I'm not saying that you don't want to be yourself if you have the sun in fall. It's just that it might be a little bit more sticky. So let's talk about that. Detriment of the sun is Aquarius, okay? Now, Aquarius is ruled by Saturn. Saturn is all about the people. It's about the community. It's about the government. It's about the system. It's about the larger forces that we live within. And so when you put the sun in a Saturn-ruled sign, you're essentially telling the person who is the Aquarius, who would rather be observing and watching and kind of seeing everything from the outside. When you tell them to go be on the inside, they're a bit like, what? It's like the anthropologist, right, is very Aquarius archetypally because they're on the outside looking in. So it's almost like if you told the anthropologist to put themselves inside the human society and study themselves, they would be like, well, that's not what I'm here to do. Like, I'm here to study humanity. I'm here to observe. I'm here to see how the system works, but I'm not looking to be the star. So this, to me, gives Aquarians such a star-like quality because it's like they're such cool people. They know so much. Their knowledge, right, as an air sign is enormous about things. But they're shy in the spotlight, and yet their minds and their ideas very well could put them in the spotlight. It's as if what they're observing is the thing that they become known for. That is very, very prominent in Aquarius people, that these people who are more behind the scenes, more on the edges, more on the outskirts, more from the outside looking in, they become well known because the sun can also be what we're known for what they observe, for what they create, for what they see from the outside. It just means that for these people, having that recognition, having that attention on them, being seen as important in some way is very like, I don't want that. That's uncomfortable. I don't like it. Maybe I can navigate it. You know, maybe I'll get through this. I will get through this. I know I'll get through this, but I really can't wait for the spotlight to just be taken off of me so I can go back to observing. So I think for the Aquarius sun, it's really about realizing that you shine through your brilliance, through your observations, through your attention to the collective. And that does single you out sometimes. And it's about letting that be okay and realizing that what you're on a mission to do individually is something collective. Like by having attention on yourself, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're like abandoning the people. It means actually that you have more of a spotlight to give to the people. So I digress. And we go to where the sun is in its fall, which is Libra. So as I said, the fall of a planet is like the exile of that planet. It's the planet going where it really doesn't want to go. Look, Libra is a sign that is ruled by Venus, and it's the exaltation of Saturn, which rules Aquarius, right? So Libra's very focused on the other. It's very focused on the outside world. It's very focused on, is everybody happy? Is everybody satisfied? Is everybody getting along? And so you put the sun there, which is about self, and the sun's like, I don't get to shine here. Like, I'm not being seen here. I'm not glowing and receiving the light here. It's all about everybody else. So it can feel really trapped in that environment. And the Libra person, because it's a fall of the sun, can feel this tension, like wanting the spotlight or wanting the attention or wanting to be center stage, but then struggling because they're conditioned in a way to be so focused on the other. And so I feel like what Libra and any planet, you know, where fall is experienced, what a Libra sun really has to work at is getting creative in the ways that they stand out and take up space. Similar to the Aquarius, this is going to have to do with other people, but because Venus is present in Libra, it's something about the way you make other people feel. And so, you know, we can do this through our artwork. We can do this as counselors. We can do this as artists of any type. And so the Libra sun can actually have this great gift of humility where, you know, they might make a lot of art in private. They might dream a lot in private. Right? They might have this amazing ability to make people feel really good one-on-one, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they are like center stage in those situations. They glow in this whole new way when they're focused on how they make other people feel. So that's why they can just be wonderful artists or writers or counselors or people who, I want to say, like they operate in this private sphere of self that really gets expressed through relationship. But again, that can bring all these complications of like, well, I want to be seen, but these are the limitations of being seen or having a big sense of self. So Libra, it's really about getting creative, I think, and prioritizing your private creative life. And that will get expressed when you focus on the relationship you have with other people and how you want to make them feel through your work. Don't get me wrong, Libra Sun can also be quite controversial and it can go alternative routes to get the attention. That's something else I've seen where the Libra can be a bit Leo in the sense that it's in fall, so it's starved for attention. And there can be controversy, there can be becoming the villain, becoming the bad, whatever, to kind of get that need met. Not always, but sometimes archetypally. So I think it's really about checking in and having a sense of integrity also underneath it, because Saturn is the exaltation of Libra. It's such a sign about integrity to me. So you got to have that integrity within and to know what it is you want, to know that you do want to be seen. But then it's going to be that Venus component that comes in and be like, okay, but I want me being seen to make people feel good and to connect. And I do want to keep the spotlight on others. How do I do that while being seen? So it's quite a tricky place for the sun, but I would say really incredible artists can come from Libra Sun, really incredible designers, people who want to, like, they have this private realm of imagination that really belongs to them, and it gets expressed in these subtle, relational, beautiful ways. Okay, let's move on to the moon. We've spent a lot of time on the sun. So the moon is our emotional and our physical and our security needs overall. Okay, so it's about feeling comfortable. It's about feeling like we have everything we need to succeed. I always say the sun and moon, right? They're so important because the sun, that's like that fiery spirit up in the sky, and the moon is like our body. It's like receiving that spirit. It's integrating that spirit. It's making that spirit feel welcome here on Earth. The moon can also be about the mother figure or the parents or the household where that young spirit was nurtured. So, detriment of the moon is in Capricorn. Capricorn moons, it's not that they don't know how to take care of themselves. Actually, if anything, these people have a heightened sense of responsibility. They have a heightened sense of how to take care of themselves. They just might not know how to relate almost to themselves, right? Capricorn's another Saturn ruled sign, so it's distant. It's not necessarily in the middle of the action. It's on the outside looking in. And so a downfall with the Capricorn moon is that it can try to control other things around it, right? Or it can try to nurture or save other people. And it can sort of create situations where, oh, it's the responsible one and everybody else is dependent on it, or it can, grow up too fast. And what all of that's about is it's about being externally as opposed to internally focused. So externally, the Capricorn moon can be focused on like, well, this is what's expected, and this is the way to take care of myself, and this is what a normal job looks like, and this is what normal is, right? That could be a big thing the Capricorn moon feels was conditioned into them by the householders. Like, this is normal, this is how you act, this is how you speak, this is how you relate. There's a strictness that then these people can sort of carry into other situations. Some people observe of Capricorn moons that it's a little bit hard to get on with them because they can be kind of set in the way that they see the world or see you or something. And so the antidote to this is to develop a relationship with the inner. How do you actually feel? Who are you outside of the conditionings? What would you be doing if you didn't have all these responsibilities? There's an inner child here that's yet to develop. And as this inner child develops and is freed, right? Capricorn is Pan, is that goat man who just wants to be wild, but has been so tamed for so long that it becomes, really cloistered and anxious in us. When that is freed through that introspection, Capricorn moon people can become incredibly intuitive to what other people need, as well as what they need. They're just going through this process really of deprogramming like the rules, the responsibilities, the things that have been projected onto us as what we need. So like a good example of this would be like a very successful career. Oh, I need this successful career. I need this money. I need this position. And it's like, well, why? Like if you already have enough in the bank, if you already have credentials, why can't you just be with what is? What's holding you back from rest? What's holding you back from just cooling down on those responsibilities and being so serious all the time? It's developing that relationship with our interior, with our unconscious, with our dreams. So Capricorn moon also can be a very spiritual place for the moon because really, when the moon is struggling, when our emotions are struggling, it's always a sign to turn inward. It's always a sign to look at, how much am I referencing the external world versus the internal world? If I'm too focused out here, then what's in here is going to call out for my attention. So as Capricorn moons begin to really sync, the inner with the outer, there is a mastery of responsibility, of taking care of oneself and of taking care of others. They just need to watch out for the pitfalls of the pride of, well, I know how to take care of myself and you don't, or I'm responsible and the rest of the world isn't, or this is the way. There can be a bit of a dogma around self-care here, or around, how we should be taking care of our lives. So the more we get to know ourselves, the less we're judging others, is what I'll say as well for the Capricorn moon. All right, now the moon has its fall. The moon does not like being, per se, in the sign of Scorpio. Scorpio is prickly. It's Mars ruled. Okay, so Mars is a fighter. Does the moon want to fight? No. Do you want to fight when you get home at the end of the day, when you take your clothes off and you take a shower? Like, do you want to deal with the drama, with a text coming in, with a bunch of dramas to... No. You want to just chill out. But when the moon is in Scorpio, we don't get a lot of rest. We don't get a lot of security. Either our early childhood could have been that way. There could have been an erratic or unpredictable parent. The comfort zone just could have always felt never there, right? And so we're used to being in survival mode when the moon's in Scorpio. We're used to protecting ourselves, to defending ourselves, to fighting with ourselves. There's kind of no rest in this moon sign. And what's funny about this is these people from the outside can look incredibly cool, calm, and collected, like nothing's going on, because Scorpio's fixed water. They've learned how to tame all that. They've learned how to contain it, but it can feel like a shaky heartbeat, at all moments. And what it is it is a water sign, Scorpio. So it does require the emotion the moon permits. Moon and Scorpio can be masterful feelers and healers and alchemists because the exact thing they're repressing, which are those big feelings that kind of make them crazy up here or defensive or overdoing it, that when it's unleashed through, I'm going to be, a little harsh here and say through a panic attack, through a crisis of some sort, through a medical emergency, when that is able to break through, we get to see all that we're holding on the inside. And we get to have so much compassion for ourselves. A lot of these people, right, their needs were last in the household. Their needs were last to be thought of. They didn't really even know that they had certain needs, right? A lot of these needs get bottled up. They don't get talked about. Boom, 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 boom. They come out in an explosion, in a rage fit, in a whatever. So when these people do have the breakdown, hate to break it to you, it's the breakthrough. It's the moment that the moon energy can actually start doing its thing. Because until we feel and we let all that out, we can't feel safe, right? Because we're always going to be defending against uncomfortable emotions. But part of the gift of having the moon in Scorpio is that you get to learn how to work with the cycles of those big emotions. And what I'll say to natal moon and Scorpio people is don't think you're alone in this, just as natal moon and Scorpios. The moon is in Scorpio, once a month. The moon can be in Scorpio in a solar return chart, in a progress chart, right? So a lot of people are having moon and Scorpio experiences, and they can be very difficult. but also very transformative, extremely transformative. What I'll say about planets in fall and detriment is once again, they have tremendous strength. Scorpio, Capricorn moons, oh my gosh, the emotional strength is wazoo. The things that these signs want to look out for is repression or saying I'm fine too much or saying, oh, it's all good because then they're not actually taking care of themselves and then they can't actually honestly see what other people need to feel cared for either. So it becomes a big lying to oneself game about their emotional climate. So there you go. Feel the feels. There are a lot in these signs, but they truly are helpful at letting in the inner nurturer, the inner parent, which is what the moon wants. Okay. So a lot of the sun and moon. Wow, you guys, we're moving on to Mercury now. We're going to look at the detriment and fall of Mercury, which one of these signs is in both. So we'll talk about that. Mercury, detriment, Sagittarius and Pisces. Why? Because Mercury is logical. It is looking through the lens of the left brain. It wants data. It wants A plus B equals C. It wants linear thinking, archetypically. Now, Sag and Pisces do not deliver linear thinking. Sagittarius is the imagination. I call Sagittarius the sci-fi writer. They challenge the bounds of reality, which also gives this Mercury placement incredible gifts. It's just that on everyday levels of communication with the Mercury and Sagittarius, it could just not be there. You know what I mean? Like there's challenges in communication and getting our point across in, having a logical or reasonable argument around something, right? Like debate could be really difficult for a Mercury and Sag or a Mercury and Pisces, but specifically Sag I'm talking about right now. Like these people do really well writing and thinking in terms of the imaginal, the unconscious, the spiritual, the mystery, okay? And it's a fire sign, Sagittarius. So they're also quite impulsive. They don't necessarily want to do learning. It's like they would rather just surface the information they need from their intuition. And why go to school? Why bother? Like the divine is telling me what I need to know. Um, Mercury and Pisces, very similar in this way. Pisces is the ocean, and Mercury is like a radio. If you put the radio in the ocean, what are you going to hear? Just bubbles, bubbles. Mercury and Pisces people really do hear a lot of bubbles, and they speak in bubbles. I mean, they're bubbly creatures. Although this placement doesn't necessarily always make someone feel super bubbly, it can actually make someone insecure and challenged by the nature of communication in their own mind. And so, because Pisces is a water sign, it's an excellent communicator on emotional, spiritual, universal, artistic levels. This is not obvious communication. This is usually nonverbal communication. Think things like dance or conveying a message through a painting or being in nature and sort of divining a message from nature. Not to say these people also can't be great intellectuals, but they're going to really be thinking outside the linear order. That's detriment. That's where Mercury's like, what is this place? Now, fall, where Mercury really doesn't like to be, is in the ocean of Pisces. Fall of Mercury and detriment of Mercury in Pisces. So I'm sorry, Pisces, Mercury's. This is where Mercury has chosen to fall and be detriment. So the thing about Pisces, Mercury having this placement is you don't need to worry about being clear. You don't need to worry about being concise because that's not your gift per se. Not saying you can't make a clear, concise point, but if you feel limited in doing that, that limitation is where you're seeking a gift that doesn't actually belong to you. Your gift is communicating in less obvious ways, in simply sitting there without speaking and having a full conversation with somebody else. In the ocean, right, we are forced to just literally observe. Like if you've ever been snorkeling or scuba diving, the communication you're experiencing there is almost obsolete. It's simply observation and awareness between you and your environment. I think the Pisces Mercury is also incredibly aware of its surroundings and of where other people are at. They're very intuitive about what's behind them and what's in front of them, and it can actually be a lot. on the mind. So these people they need a hideout. They need a safe reef where they can swim to and they can just not be in the waters of everything. Okay. So I will say that these people are also amazing poets and artists, and um, they can be wonderful writers and speakers, but they're definitely going to challenge the way you think we should be doing that. Okay? Okay. So on to Venus. Venus is in detriment in Aries and Scorpio, and it's in fall in Virgo. Well, Venus is all about love and lovers and romance and harmony and oh, aren't you so pretty and aren't you so great? It's about compliments. It's about giving and receiving compliments. Well, Aries is at war. Aries is on the battlefield, and Scorpio is in its own sheets, fighting a battle with, well, maybe somebody else, but probably itself, its own mind. Okay, so where is there the time of day, right, for these people to say, "Oh, you look so great," or "Oh, the roses are so beautiful"? The thing about Venus and Aries and Scorpio is that this is a highly engaged Venus. These are busy Venuses. Like, this isn't a Venus who likes to slow down. Like, the thing that gives these people pleasure and excitement is like energy and heat and moving fast and go, go, go. And they like the rush of, like, I'm just almost imagining New York City. Like, they like going from place to place to thing to thing. They like to be busy, which can make them difficult to pin down, a bit hard of a lover to have if you can think about it. If someone's kind of always on and ready to go, I mean, that can be a really fun lover to have, but then also, oh, where's my lover gone? My lover's gone again. So these are incredibly busy people. They're also people who, because Aries and Scorpio, ruled by Mars, right? Mars is a bit of a fighter, a bit of a defender. They might not be as open to intimacy. It can be a little bit more hard for them. It can be a little bit more hard to let in another person. Aries and Scorpio are incredibly individualistic signs. Yes, they have capacity to connect, of course, especially Scorpio on those deep, watery levels, but their first instinct is to go at things alone. So in partnership, when they're with another person, it can be a little harder to ask for what they want or to meet what somebody else wants or expects. Now, Venus has its fall in Virgo, and Virgos, as we know, are picky. So, I really don't want to use this example, but if any of you guys know that SNL sketch, Debbie Downer, you're enjoying your day, everything's going your way, then along comes Debbie Downer. That's Virgo Venus for you. Because Venus is sort of like where those skits of SNL are set. Like, Venus is like everyone's, getting along and having a great time. And oh, do you remember that great time when? And then Venus and Virgo comes in and says, yeah, but my food isn't really that good. Or, the world is in conflict. How could any of you be happy? Like, Venus and Virgo does not look for the good first. And that's what Venus wants. Venus wants a party. It wants everything to be fabulous and lovely and connected. And Virgo is there calling out what isn't. It's like the person that you're planning this big party and say it's your wedding. And you have a friend over and they like critique every single detail of it. That's Venus being in Virgo. It's like everything was perfect until you said that. And now I'm all in my head about what to do. know. So, as you can see, this is hard for the Venus and Virgo to appreciate, to relate, to make other people feel really good. Okay. Not that they can't. Their way of doing it, and I actually think this is incredibly beautiful, is that they love you through their critiques. So part of love is saying no, right? Part of love is brutal honesty. Venus and Virgo is going to be brutally honest with you. And I actually love that. That makes these people great taskmasters, great leaders, great colleagues. Like, they're going to be the people who's just saying, guys, this isn't working. Not working, not working. Throw that out, get rid of that. This is an asset in many situations. But when it does come to just being relaxed, to just appreciating, to also feeling like harmony and confidence within ourselves, it can be a bit of a damper on that. It can actually be a bit of a struggle for these people to feel like fully appreciative of themselves. And so, what I would say to these people is that your skill for discernment, your skill for picking out the bad and what's not working is tremendously helpful. It's just what situation are you applying it in? And if you do know what you don't want, right? What is it that you do want? Virgo's the opposite of Pisces. Pisces is our yes, Virgo is our no. So Pisces is kind of divinity, and Virgo is the temple where we are making room for divinity. So these people can actually be incredible romantics. It's just that they're people who feel like time and time and time again, the romance hasn't worked out, so they have to worry about it. They have to overplan it. They have to overthink it. But if you just realize that there's, a couple steps you need to do to finding that dream date, just start the dating profile. Just put your interests and hobbies there. Just put a picture or two and then surrender. Virgo's so much about just surrender and let the good times roll. Baby, you're not in charge of all of them. Okay. All right, so moving on to Jupiter, our second to last planet in this debility scheme. Jupiter, beliefs, philosophies, wisdom, expansion. So Jupiter is detriment. It's in that kind of foreign, confusing place when it's in Gemini and Virgo, right? Gemini and Virgo are going to question the F out of whatever they see. Well, how do you know the sky's blue? How do you know that table's made of wood? Are you sure that kind of wood is, made in this country? Where is that wood? Like, Gemini and Virgo have a question for everything, and Jupiter's about faith, right? So Jupiter's like, I just want to be free. I want to feel like, there's no troubles, there's no worries, like everything's going to work out. And then you have Gemini and Virgo, and they're kind of like, well, it didn't work out last time, and it might not work out this time. So one of the difficulties, let's first start with Gemini, of Jupiter and Gemini, is Gemini is so much about learning. And when you put Jupiter here, these people can be quite insecure about how they learn, right? Because Gemini is about, making connections, and you put Jupiter there and it's sort of like, well, do I have enough connections? Do I have enough information? Like, these people could struggle to have faith in their own knowledge, in their own wisdom, and so kind of be getting in their own way by undercutting themselves all the time. Oh, I don't know enough, so I can't do that. Oh, I don't know enough about this, so this can't work. There can be a doubt related to one's intellect, when the way you can transform this is by accepting that part of your path is to constantly be learning about new things. That is actually a gift. And that faith comes through the more and more and more you learn. You build confidence over time, and you start to see, wow, I am a smart person who knows a lot. I can relax into that. But it does take, I think, a couple times of kind of working your way up to that point of confidence. It takes reading and failing and getting up and trying again, but eventually you do get to that place of like, there's always more to know, but I can just roll with what I know today. I can just roll with that. Now, Jupiter and Virgo is a bit of a different story because, Gemini is an air sign, so it's still imaginative, it's still full of ideas. Virgo's the earth. So Virgo's like a skeptical take on Jupiter. I am not going to generalize because I have not seen near enough charts to prove this point. I want to say archetypally, though, Virgo's a bit of a secularist, Virgo Jupiter. Not always, definitely not always, but it's this idea of like, well, if I can't see it, because Virgo's the physical realm, if I can't see it, if I can't touch it, if it's not material, if it's not here, how is it useful? And faith is none of those things. Faith and spirituality and belief, nothing we can see, right? Now, I'll challenge what I just said by saying that actually the divine can be found in the material world. The challenge for these people is to see that there is a spiritual purpose that can be seen. And the spiritual purpose that can be seen can be simple. Virgo's about simplicity. So we can find spiritual fulfillment or faith in little small routines or things we take care of on a daily basis. We can find inspiration. We can find faith in our morning coffee. I know that sounds crazy, but for some people, that is a routine, that is a ritual. We can find faith in a walk that we take through nature. Okay, I know I'm doing that. I know that's going to recharge me. It doesn't require believing in a God per se. It doesn't require believing that things eternally are going to be great, but it allows us to find things in the material realm that we can do to have a sense of faith. Now, when does this become hard? Well, when material circumstances are in flux. Your favorite coffee shop is closed, the trail is closed, your little routines that you've set up are no longer accessible. What do you do then? You know, that can be a bit harder. It can be a bit harder also to have faith in the process for these people. There could be a sense of, I am never good enough. I'm never going to learn enough or be able to apply enough. Just a lot of self-doubt, because self-confidence is having that Jupiterian ability to just kind of go for it without much information, go for it without much experience. And Virgo, God, does not want to do that. Virgo wants as much experience and as much proof that it's perfect as it can get. You're not going to get it though, Jupiter in Virgo. So for both Gemini and Virgo, it's these small steps that I think bring you faith. It's faith that you develop through doing and through seeing that you don't need to have it all together today, but that what you do have, no matter how broken or difficult to piece together it is, that's still really fruitful. There's still a lot of fruit you can pick from that tree. And that can be your source of faith, your well of wisdom, your inspiration. Okay. Jupiter falls in Capricorn. Now, why would Jupiter really not like being in Capricorn? Well, Capricorn is the ultimate practical sign. It's what's your 10-year plan? It's, where are you going to college? What are you doing for work? What's happening tomorrow and the next day and the next day? Jupiter doesn't care about any of that, right? Jupiter just wants to travel and be free and, kind of be a hippie and live moment to moment, day to day through the intuition. Capricorn can kind of block this at times. It can sort of say, like, that's not allowed. There can be judgments here towards people who are kind of free, because these people, they want to be free, but they know that they have this obligation, which can make them tremendously hardworking, very loyal and devoted and faithful in a long process that they set out for themselves. But I will say the downside to this is closed-mindedness. It's sort of, okay, well, I'm going to invest a lot of faith in this plan, but as we all know, plans inevitably change. And I think that's where the Capricorn Jupiter is going to feel the debilitative effects of Jupiter the most Jupiter will feel that of Capricorn the most, because plans just do not go the way that we want them to. And Capricorn's a planner. And so if you mess with Capricorn's plans, it's going to feel upset. It's going to feel down on itself. There could be also this cycling in one's head of, oh, I'm a failure if I don't meet every benchmark, right? If every single deadline is not passed, if I am not right on par with where I set myself to be on par with, that can be a real issue for the Capricorn Jupiter. So what I do like about Jupiter and Capricorn is that Jupiter and Capricorn's ruling planet Saturn are both sky gods, and they both correspond with time, the timing and the cycles of the solar system, of the universe. And so I do think that within the Capricorn Jupiter, there's an opportunity to grow closer to universal time. Like, there is this ability to maybe surrender at certain points of the process. Well, the process inevitably makes you surrender, and to be able to use their time extremely wisely. Now, this does not necessarily feel like Jupiter and Sag or Pisces, which is like the timelessness, but Capricorn can become a very good manager with Jupiter of time, right? It can make timelessness happen within time slots. And I know that this is a fallen planet, but honestly, the more I describe it, I'm a bit jealous of people with Jupiter and Capricorn because, okay, yeah, it might not be happy-go-lucky all the time, but like, you have this ability to kind of work scenarios to your advantage because Jupiter is kind of luck and things that don't happen to you. And this to me is very much about creating your own luck. So if you have Jupiter in Capricorn, I'd be really interested to hear just more about how this shows up in your life. You can leave that in the comments below if you wish. All right, we've arrived at our last planet, Saturn. So Saturn is the rules, the boundaries, the restrictions, the idea of mortality itself, endings, right? Things that we cannot have, things that don't go our way. So Saturn's in detriment when it's in Cancer and Leo, the two most selfish signs of the zodiac. No, I'm kidding, I'm kidding, I'm kidding. Cancer and Leo's emit light. They don't take it. Well, sometimes they take it, but Cancer and Leo don't want to be told no. If you think about it, okay, Cancer's the moon. The moon needs what it needs. What Cancer needs is emotional and physical validation, right? So it needs its cuddles, it needs to be tucked in, it needs its hot cup of tea. Leo also needs what it needs, but because it's the sun, it's more the nature of the soul. So like Leo needs to express itself. Leo needs to be seen. Leo needs, I once heard, if Cancer is like bodily or emotional validation, Leo is psychic or soul validation. Like the psyche of the Leo needs to be told, you're great, you're doing great, you're awesome, you're so on fire. Like Leos love that. Saturn does not give either of these signs that. Saturn says no. And so when Saturn's in Cancer, Saturn's in Leo, it can be hard to say yes to ourselves. So Saturn in Cancer, that's making it hard to say yes to what our emotional or physical selves are telling us. Like it's hard to listen to our body. It's hard to listen to our intuition. It's hard to kind of admit what we need. And in turn, this can make us victims or martyrs sometimes of our own needs, right? Like, well, nobody was able to give this to me. There can be mommy issues here too. I have seen. Not always. Not everyone has a mom, but sometimes mommy issues. And then Leo, an inability to put oneself out there, always resenting people who take up space or the spotlight, always kind of being like, well, why did they get to be famous? Why do they get to be seen? What about me? And so both of these signs, when there's Saturn here, it can sort of invert the Leo Cancer dynamic, which can make for a much more quiet, stoic, less animate kind of expression of Cancer or Leo in these people. But it can also stifle that creative or that youthful quality both of these signs bring. So what I like about them being together is that Cancer and Leo are really going to challenge Saturn. So there's going to be this constant clash of no and I want happening when Saturn's in these signs. And that is going to teach these people, once again, we're dealing with debilities, which require new, creative, innovative approaches to whatever that planet is trying to do. So if Saturn is ultimately about creating structure in our lives, we are going to have to, through Cancer and Leo, consult what are the needs that I need to build the structures of my life around. If it's Cancer, it's more emotional, physical. If it's Leo, it's more psychic, spiritual, creative. So like, what are the needs? What are the desires? What are the selfish wants that I need my life to reflect? And often these people can deny themselves, right? Saturn, those very needs, but it ends up making the structure harder to hold together. So this is a bit of a challenging one where it really is kind of learning self-care on very intimate levels. I don't know why my psyche wants to throw this in, but I did once see the birth chart of Perez Hilton, and I'm pretty sure he had Saturn in Leo. Why is that relevant? Well, I also like this idea of these people might not be the ones taking up the spotlight, but they might also be people who work in industries or related to, that would be Leo more so, the spotlight or entertainment, or with Cancer. It could also be the home or the family or something where they're a support or they are helping other people achieve some sort of dream or desire. They're very good at taking care of, or Saturn that's like observing, cultivating other people with these Cancer Leo tendencies. But it really will confront them with where in themselves that quality is lacking. And obviously, Perez Hilton was a gossip columnist for years about celebrities. And I mean, what does that reflect about one's own self loathing, one's own need to be in the spotlight, than criticizing those who are? So I don't know. Thought that was kind of interesting. Love you, Perez. Actually, I used to live in LA, and I remember, I think I saw him or met him at one point. Maybe it was just saw. I don't think I met him, but I did see him once. Okay, anyways, let's talk about Saturn in fall. Fall in Saturn. Aries. Okay, why would Saturn fall in Aries? Well, Aries is the exaltation of the sun. So it's all about me. It's all about going for what I want. It's my way or the highway. Saturn restricts, it says no. So if you tell a screaming toddler that they can't have their blocks, they're going to scream more. I think what can happen with Saturn and Aries is that these people can really fight restriction. I have seen um, a lot of really incredibly brave Saturn and Aries people be like, well, I am not going to follow the rules. I'm not gonna do what society tells me to do. And I love that. But then there can be issues where if you follow no rules, then where are you bounded? Where are you held? Where are you fixed in something sustainable and secure? So these people can really fear authority. They can fear security. They can fear like being locked into something or having to give up something. Like these are people who want it all. And Saturn says, no, you cannot have it all. You definitely can't have it all. You only get to choose one or two things. And these people do not like choosing. So, one of the things they are working on is, I want to say, choosing themselves. And what this means is that there are going to be outer circumstances they have to put up with, right? We all need to make money. We all need to eat. We all need to deal with this physical incarnation. But the thing that they need to learn to say yes to is the self. The self is not an outer phenomena, it's an inner phenomena. So it's something that guides us and keeps us going even when times are short and not working out. This can bring tremendous motivation to get to where one wants to go. The reason Saturn falls here is because these people can try to get there really, really fast. It can be like, well, I have this idea, I'm going to go for it. I know a couple very successful who were successful by like 2021 entrepreneurs with Saturn in Aries. And I genuinely think that a lot of their drive comes from that, well, I don't see a boundary. And that's great. But over time, you've got to learn those boundaries to build that business or to build that idea up over time. So it doesn't crash and burn, or so that you take time to learn the rules of something, which means you take time to learn yourself because we're made up of all these different instincts and ideas, and it's great to externalize those. But there are times that call for them to just be imagined and not necessarily acted upon. You cannot force growing up. You cannot force maturing. You cannot force Saturn. Aries likes to will force things forward. Saturn says no to our free will. It says, just because you want it doesn't mean I want it. So patience is a big lesson for these people. Okay, so as you can see, we've gone through all the essential debilities in the dignity scheme. You can see that there are numerous strengths, numerous incredibly unique ways these signs and these planets get along. But you can also hopefully now see the challenges. So I'm really looking forward to hearing from you if you have any of these debilities, how they relate. And keep in mind, actually, that what I love about the dignity scheme is that it gives us more information about each and every sign. So we can learn a lot about Saturn's fall in Aries, about Aries. What does Aries fall or fail in? Well, Saturn things, setting boundaries, going slow, being patient, right? So it's like we can really learn each sign as well as each planet through this dignity scheme. So, with that, thank you guys so much for being here today. You can get a reading with me at ethan-paisley.com. Also, the link to my website's in the bio, along with social media. And there's a new podcast posted every week. So, I look forward to seeing you guys here for our next one. Thanks so much for coming along, and I will chat with you soon and see you on the internets.